Welcome to the Love Yourself Project's 5-day Build a Website Challenge. I'm Ren, and I am part of the Love Yourself Project team. We're happy to welcome you here to this event, and we are also happy to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary. This is to start off our 2nd year. We decided that the Build Your Website Challenge would be perhaps a great topic, a useful topic, considering everything that has changed in the past year. Many of you may be redeveloping yourselves, your businesses. You may be looking to create a personal blog or put an online CV or business. And if you haven't already gotten started with a website, or if you're looking to expand, create more, we are happy to show you our choice using SiteGround hosting, Divi Theme and Builder on WordPress. So we'll get started. All right, so let's dive into our 5-day Build a Website Challenge primer. We are going to talk about choosing a domain name and why we should consider choosing Divi on WordPress. Before we do that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Ren. I actually do websites for a living, among other digital marketing aspects. I've been working in web since the good old HTML days, using Front Page and Dreamweaver, and all throughout various WordPress themes when they came around. And then more recently, in fact, in the last year, I discovered Divi. I had been struggling with various themes that I would find that I would like, and they would be fabulous, like a GoDaddy theme or something like that. And you would dig into it and realize you couldn't edit the footer, or you could only edit a little portion of something. And I went to Celine and I said, what am I doing wrong? Am I missing something obvious here? And she said, yeah, you're not using Divi. So she showed me the light, and I went into Divi, and I will tell you, for me, it has been a game changer. I've done about 6 sites in Divi so far, and I absolutely love it. I actually shifted my business back to doing web more than digital marketing because it is so fun. So much fun has been brought back to web design for me, just using Divi. So anyways, that's who I am. So let's actually talk about what you want to hear about today. All right, so your domain name is your, for example, mine is renswebs.com. It is called a URL, which stands for Universal Resource Locator. You can have .net, .org, .us if you're in the US, .biz. There's a lot of different ones. I recently bought one, a .life. So it really kind of depends on what you want to do with your business, and what you want to. If you want it to be super easily recognizable, we absolutely recommend the .com. However, sometimes your choice of .com is not going to be available. Or it's going to cost an arm and a leg. So sometimes you might go off with a .co or a .net. The .org is typically reserved for an organization, so that is a little bit limiting there. And of course, the country-specific ones, the .us or the .nl, they are going to be somewhat requiring that your business be based in that country before they allow you to buy that name. But it's however you choose to market your business is fine, as long as you think people will be able to remember your whatever and you prominently display it, then you can really pick up any one that you like. So that is one thing to consider. So when you choose your name for your website, you do want to consider recognition, ease of typing it in, length, and search does matter too. So if you have a term, if you're a realtor maybe putting realtor in your domain name could help for your recognition among search engines, and Google could consider your site more relevant if the keyword was in your name. But it doesn't have to be that way. So really just keep it short, keep it memorable. If possible, try not to use dashes, but if you need to, you can. It's really just going to be a matter of preference. You can always search Google, see who else is using similar names. When I look for a new domain name, I go to GoDaddy.com and type it in to see if it's available. They actually have a generator tool right on the site, GoDaddy does. So when you type in what you want, even if it is available or isn't, it will tell you other names that it suggests that are similar. So you can just start typing in names that you think of and see if they're available, see what the price is. Keep in mind the price usually is almost nothing the first year, and then the renewals the subsequent years are what will get you. For example, my .life was $1.99 for the first year, and now it's $40 some in subsequent years. I'm speaking in US dollar terms here. In terms of a regular .com, that is about $18 a year US or 15 euros thereabouts. Sometimes you'll find that the .com is available, but it's for sale for a huge price, like thousands of dollars. And that means somebody owns it and they're trying to resell it. And you can sometimes offer a lower amount and it may be accepted because, they just put virtual prices on things. So you may be able to negotiate. So there's lots of things you can do to check. And that is what I would recommend. So let's talk about how your .com or your .co is different from your hosting provider. Like you might buy it on GoDaddy and you might host it on SiteGround. So we'll talk about that. Your website address is that is your actual address. So if you think of it like your house, it's your street address for your house, but it's not your actual house. Your actual house, where it's built by your developer, that is where your server is, and your server is your hosting provider. The .com is the domain name part is bought through a company called a registrar. So GoDaddy is a registrar, SiteGround is a hosting provider. Don't get me wrong, I believe they actually both do both. So GoDaddy will also host, and I believe you can register through SiteGround as well. So, your host provides physical servers, and nowadays physical servers aren't really a physical server at a place. They're in the cloud. They really do exist at physical places in big data centers with lots and lots of machines, but theoretically they are virtually rented cloud servers. And that's where you actually put your WordPress installation and your website files actually live, and they get backed up and they get served from that cloud storage location. So that is your hosting provider. So since your .com and your hosting server are two different products, you can technically buy them from two different companies. Now, why would you choose a different company? A lot of people like to buy off GoDaddy. I like to buy off GoDaddy. It's force of habit. Used to be Network Solutions. They had monopoly. They don't anymore. GoDaddy's customer phone support is awesome. I personally like it. I like their interface, and it's just something I'm comfortable with. But you can really buy anywhere, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. The hosting, why might you choose a different hosting? That is based on price, speed, and certain offerings that they have. Certain hosts offer a variety of different things that could enhance your website. We will continue. Some popular registrars, in addition to GoDaddy, are Namecheap and Domains.com. And as I mentioned, the costs can vary wildly depending on what name you want. If you really want a certain name and it is for sale and you want to fork up the money that they're wanting to ask for it or put an offer for maybe something a little more reasonable, then by all means. Otherwise, try to find an iteration of your domain name that's a little bit more reasonable and that's available, and you won't be out of pocket a lot of money at all. So hosting choices, some popular hosts, SiteGround is one of them. I personally use SiteGround. I have used GoDaddy. I have used Bluehost. I have used HostGator. Those are all very popular names. I really love the interface that SiteGround provides. I mean, the uptime's great. The site, if I move a site from another host to SiteGround, the site automatically performs faster. It's got an optimization plugin that is proprietary that's really great compared to something called like WP Rocket would be an optimization plugin that the SG Optimizer is comparative to. And I won't get too much into SiteGround because on day one of our 5-day challenge, Katerina Angelova from SiteGround in Europe will be giving you an in-depth presentation specifically about SiteGround's offering for WordPress and Divi websites. So that is all I will say for now, and you can stay tuned for that soon. So let's talk about WordPress. WordPress is called a CMS, which stands for Content Management System. And it is an open source software, it's a platform, I should say, which means that it's written by everyone and it's free. It means that the code that WordPress is built upon is not proprietary and that other developers are freely able to write plugins for it, add-ins, modifications, modules, call them what you will. Builders and themes count as some of the enhancements that can be written for WordPress. And it has been around, I'm not exactly sure, over a decade and a half. And it is pretty darn popular. I believe it's running a little over 40% of the websites on the internet. So that goes to tell you something as far as its flexibility, popularity. It is really easy to find a developer who can help you if you need to go further with your website if you are using WordPress, because it is so well known. You won't have a problem finding someone who is capable of helping. Please note that WordPress.com, which is the WordPress we're talking about today, is not WordPress.org. WordPress.org is a website that is like you create an account and they give you a little WordPress.org/your name where you can make a blog on it and you can build a little blog website on it, absolutely. But it is not the same as WordPress.com, which is where you know, what we're talking about today. So comparing WordPress to some of the other options that are out there. As I mentioned, it actually powers presently, the latest statistic I looked up is 41% of websites worldwide. And there is not much of anything you can't do with WordPress, obviously not out of the box, but with all of the plugins that are available that developers from just really everywhere have written. Some more sophisticated than others. The plugins, you have to, when you look at plugins, you will research online and the WordPress library and see how often they've been updated, how many users have installed the plugins, read the reviews. Keep in mind, a lot of people who write reviews are only there to write negative reviews, so the positives sometimes don't come out. But if there are a lot of users of the plugin and they're regularly updated, you can pretty well trust that that's probably going to be a good plugin. That will allow you to expand your website. You can make an e-commerce website using the WooCommerce plugins or other plugins. You really, you can make a gallery. You can it's unlimited what you can really do with the plugins that are out there. So I invite you to shop. Obviously, WordPress supports all the basics you would expect from a website in terms of search engine optimization, SEO, and mobile responsiveness. It, of course, doesn't necessarily mean everything you build in there is going to be optimized or mobile friendly. You have to consciously choose to design areas to make sure that they are indeed responsive and mobile friendly, and that indeed they are optimized properly for search, however it supports it. And it can build fast sites or it can build slow sites. It really depends what you're putting into it and how you're optimizing it. So you can build a really lean site using WordPress, or you can build a really bulky site using WordPress. It's kind of going to be a choice of what you put in it and how you manage it. And WordPress, the one thing that I think might be a drawback if you aren't really into spending a lot of time with your website, is updates, because each plugin and WordPress itself and the themes all have updates for security. If you don't update your everything regularly, you are at risk for malware hack attempts. And that is certainly a problem. It's a problem with any website. But the amount of varied plugins pieces that you have potentially put on your site through WordPress, it means that they all need to be updated. Luckily, servers pretty much all allow for plugins to be updated automatically. SiteGround, for example, is one. It will allow automatic updates to be enabled, and it will take care of patching most everything for you regularly. If not, there are plugins that will also do that for you. So you need to keep an eye on it, but it's not like you really actually have to physically do all the updates all the time. You just need to make sure that the updates are set and check your site regularly to make sure that one of the updates didn't break something. So that's one other thing to consider. But you should really do that with any site. So including Wix and Squarespace. So those are two really popular site builders, I guess you want to call them, out there right now. And I think even GoDaddy has a website builder. I shouldn't say I think, I've used it. I've been into Wix. I have not actually been into Squarespace, but they are competent. They absolutely have what you would need to put together a website. It's just the flexibility that's lacking. You're limited on where you can put things, what templates are available, what widgets and plugins are available. Like, the world is not your oyster in these platforms. But that is, if you're worried about getting over your head with the world of plugins and taking on more than you can chew, then maybe keeping something super basic. But again, you can say super basic in WordPress too. So as long as stay out of adding on every plugin that sparkles, then you're going to keep that simple. It'll be just fine. So it does seem to actually cost a bit more to use a Wix or Squarespace site. The hosting and the platform is all kind of included in your 1 monthly price, which starting, I believe, around 25-ish US dollars per month. And then different packages, I guess, go up from there from my research into them. And that's great because it does include kind of everything. So there's that low overhead management on your end. But with a WordPress site with appropriate hosting, I mean, I can host a website for $6 a month. So yes, I pay for my license outside of that. However, there are ways, that I choose to use Divi, so I pay for that license, and we'll talk more about that. But beyond that, it is more affordable to be able to run a WordPress site than to run one of the others. And of course, you get all of that flexibility. So we'll talk about why we're choosing Divi. I kind of already mentioned that a little bit earlier. That really just made my life enjoyable. But it is one of the best-selling, quote unquote, theme builders available. It is in the top 2 compared to another product called Elementor, you may have heard of. The reason why we would choose Divi or Elementor for that matter is that it allows us a consistent builder interface while still having variety of being able to kind of build whatever we want. And you know, the ease of the interface just makes building websites fun again. And with Divi, they offer a lifetime license. So that is a really great plan. And, you know, they really actually have really fabulous support. I've used their support quite a few times. And I will tell you, it makes me feel like I am not alone. So I don't feel backed into a corner at any time if I can't figure something out. I go to them, they send me, you know, detailed instructions with screenshots and Loom recordings of how to do something. And will in fact log into the site and take a peek and tell me specifically what's wrong. And I've yet to be failed by their support. So I really do recommend that. We'll talk a little bit more here about pros and cons. So Divi is a drag and drop builder. That means within the, and a WYSIWYG here on my slide, it's what you see is what you get. It means that you can actually grab a module, widget, whatever you want to call it. It is called module inside of Divi. And you can place it. You can move it across into different columns, into different rows. You can cut, paste. You can duplicate. You can delete. There's menu options, and you guys, of course, in the next 5 days, you will see all sorts of these great options and learn everything that I'm talking about right now. But you will just see that you don't need to know code, and it's really great drag and drop builder interface. It actually goes full width and has a floating pop-up toolbar when you want to edit an element, which compared to Elementor has a docked sidebar only, so you can't have that full width editor. That it's a personal preference. You can dock the floating sidebar in Divi, so that is one thing that is different. And there is, what I haven't yet said is that Divi is not just a builder or a theme, but it is sort of both. So while Elementor and Divi are both builders, meaning they provide you with this set of consistent tools to get the modules and widgets into the page and get them styled. There's templates, layouts that are available in both Elementor and Divi. However, Divi takes the layout templates to the next level and themes them. So it's like having a bunch of themes. Let's say, for example, you have a particular style for a landscape company, and all the pages have certain, consistent elements across them, but it styles a home page, a landing page, and about, a contact, and an inner page. Like the 5-6 main pages you would ever need typically on a website. It has those like pre-designed, and they're styled for that like landscape company. And there's a bunch of those. There's over, I think, 1,100, 1,200 different pages in total through the layout palette, through the templates. And Elementor does have templates and layouts, but they're not like the themed packs. So basically Divi is a theme and a builder. One other thing that Divi has that is unique is an A/B lead testing feature. So let's say you have a lead magnet, an email opt-in sign-in, for example, and you want to test the words on one button versus another button. Built in with Divi, you can do that, where it will just automatically kind of display, 50-50 to the website visitors, and then you can look at the data on that and see which one performed better, so that you can do testing right there within the thing without having to create multiple pages and figure out how to serve them or use a third-party tool. Speaking of email pop-ups, one thing that Elementor does have is a fully customizable pop-up builder. So if you're really into pop-ups, you may want to check that out. Divi has, when you buy a Divi, it comes with something called Bloom, which is a pop-up module enhancement plugin for Divi for the email subscription pop-ups, but it's not as fully customizable as Elementor's. So if you're really into pop-ups, that you might consider Elementor in that case. In both cases, both of these builders have a marketplace. So Divi Marketplace, Celine likes to call Divi like a Barbie doll, and then the marketplace is like her mall. So you can get all the shoes and the cars and the RV and the camper, and so that is where it's almost like that WordPress.com, the world of plugins, but these are specifically built for Divi to be compatible and be in the Divi builder. So they're really nice. I kind of go crazy on, Cyber Monday. I went a little wild in there and found some great things. So it is very compatible with regular WordPress plugins, and really no drawbacks. The biggest comparison that you're going to want to know about Divi versus Elementor is about the pricing. So Elementor does have a free version and Divi does not, but Divi ends up being cheaper depending on how you want to use it, of course. Elementor only has yearly subscription options. For one site, it would be $49 for Elementor. And that gives you the use and support for 1 year. Now you can continue using it after the year, but you don't have the support. Divi has the same model, but theirs is $89 for the one site for the 1 year. Of course, you can continue using Divi. You just don't have the support after the year. If you want to get support again, you can renew. But Divi has a lifetime license. And it's not just for one site, it's for any sites, as many sites as you want. And it's $249. And it occasionally goes on sale, like Cyber Monday. So it does happen. And it is so worth it if you ever intend to build more than one website, or if you intend to fiddle with your website enough that you might need support more than 1 year. Otherwise, buying the 1 year license is completely an option. So, and again, you don't have to renew the license every year, only if you want the supports again. So, and as I mentioned, their support's really good. It is email support or chat. Sometimes they're on when I'm on and they chat right back fairly quickly. But a lot of times it'll come to my email and I get things done quickly. I've never had to wait. The amount of detail they put in the replies is usually really outstanding. And everything comes away being fixed. So all the better. Like with any builder, there is a little bit of time to learn it. So if you're used to using another builder, yes, there's going to be a learning curve. All of this freedom that Divi and WordPress provide can be a little overwhelming. So there's so many choices that you can, you can go down the rabbit hole a little bit too far sometimes. You got to kind of check yourself. And the other con here I have for Divi is that, you might lose a little bit of sleep because you're having so much fun. I've forgotten to eat, and which is, you know, not really a problem, but it is quite fun to get into designing with Divi because it is really just a joy to work in. And that is what I have for you for the introduction here today. I hope that you found this presentation insightful and that you are looking forward to getting started with actually digging in and doing some work on a site using Divi. Stay tuned for more details about SiteGrounds hosting with Katarina coming up here on day 1. All right, you guys have fun.